welcome to another episode of the Keep Making podcast. Today on the podcast, we have Jordan Shepard.
What's up?
Jordan Shepard is the resident maker, educator, content creation person.
That's already too big of a title.
It's already too big of a title?
That's already too much.
So
that's already out
to get this part out of the way, I've known Jordan for
I think we're
5 years.
Are we going on six? Yeah, dude.
At least 6 years.
We're on 6.
And we're the kind of friends that like probably know too much about each other. Like,
oh yeah.
Like, I know Jordan likes to go to parties and he doesn't tell anybody. He knows that I like to throw parties and get way too crazy at them.
Yep.
So pretty much we know each other's like dark stuff and all the positive stuff.
Yeah, we've been at the high highs and the low lows.
Yeah. So when I first approached Jordan about joining the team here, and joining the content creation team for the Polytek platform.
That's right.
Everyone was like, well, are you going to work with your friends? Is that going to work out? You're not supposed to work with your friends. And we had lots of conversations about that, didn't we?
I think we had, it probably got, like the total probably got up to like 15 phone calls.
At
and
least.
Like 3 dinners. I don't know. I mean, it was a concern. I mean, I've not worked with really, really close friends. I had one job where the people at that job, it's actually the job that introduced me to you eventually. Mm-hmm. But at that position, I got to become close friends with the people I worked with.
Right.
But it wasn't let's start out the gate that way. So for instance, you and I coming into this have history, have ways of operating.
Yeah. We don't have history working together in this capacity.
Right. So we have to figure that out.
Right.
That's a new thing.
Cool. So the point of this podcast is about people that create their way through life. And you are currently the person that is going to be creating lots of things.
Yeah.
Why are you the person that's going to be creating lots of things? And the answer can be, I don't know.
Yeah, because that's the answer. I have no idea. I mean, Mike's
going to love that answer.
Yeah, I know. Real confidence boost. No, I was actually thinking about this. I knew we were going to do this podcast. And I started to think like, oh, what qualifies me to do this? What qualifies me to be in this spot? Mm-hmm. And I started to do the comparison game, which everybody will tell you is not the way to feel good about yourself.
No, because there's always somebody that's better.
Oh,
especially in our own brains.
And at every individual thing that you do in your life. There's a better cook. There's a better craftsman, there's a better mathematician. I don't care what it is. There's somebody better than you. But what qualifies me to do this or why I'd even take this job, and I'm assuming why Jonathan and Mike and everybody over at the Polytek team.
Why I was like, hey, he needs to join the team.
Yeah, why you called me out was my favorite thing to do in the world is to make stuff, is to problem solve, is to try to figure stuff out. Mm-hmm. If somebody asked me one time, it's such a corny business, like key question, but they asked me, "What's your 5-word resume?" And I was like, okay. Are we at a convention? Like, what's going on? And I realized I was like, I'll do this work, and mine is I can figure it out, right? I can figure it out, and I'm not a master at anything. I'm really not. I'm not a expert wood turner or a perfect mold maker. I haven't worked for the movies. I've not done a lot of this stuff. But in my spare time, I've, by myself, tried to just figure stuff out. So I've made, the past few years, I've made that my job or my hobby more likely. How is a better way to say that? Is figuring stuff out. And when it comes to this stuff, when it comes to this job, how it's been explained to me is that it would be great if somebody would figure this stuff out and explain this stuff on camera, because that's what everybody else is trying to do themselves.
Right. Yeah, because the reality is like this is going to live like on the Alumilite channel, for instance, this piece of content. And Mike Foppel and Don Fowler did a really great job of educating our consumers about what the products and what's possible there for years. And then they obviously got really busy and they swamped all the time. And so we're kind of like rekindling the flame of like educating the consumer about what's possible with our products, but we're going to try and do that in a mass scale and like redo all the product videos, redo all the how-tos, but also like take that and run with it into new territory. What excites you the most about the possibility of our products? Like what you could do there. And then what do you think is kind of like, we don't really need to go there?
That's a really good question. I know a lot of people who are in kind of the making art community, whether that's professionally, that's what they do, like designers, object designers, graphic designers. And I know a lot of people who enjoy this type of thing, making stuff, pottery, all that. And for me, I wasn't really aware of all of this suite of products until I barely dipped my toe in maybe a year ago. And suddenly realized that you can make almost anything out of this stuff. And that feels like an overpromise. It feels like
really does feel like an overpromise. Every time I talk about it, I'm like,
I was like,
is
okay.
that really true? And then I'm like, oh yeah, it is.
Right. And that's so for me when I look at this stuff, I go, wow, that's really exciting. This stuff can make anything. When you use the suite of all of these products, you can pretty much come up with anything to a degree. But the part of me that goes, okay, I wish we could expose this to the people I know who don't know that this exists. There are people that I know who are extremely creative, who have amazing ideas, and they have never heard of this stuff.
Right.
They've never heard of Polytek. They've never heard of Alumilite. They've never heard of Stone Coat, of ETI, of Pro Marine. They don't know these brands, and they don't know that this actual material exists. Maybe they've heard about it.
Right.
They maybe heard the word epoxy. That's normally the one that comes to mind. But they just haven't been exposed to it.
Right.
So for me, I look at this, especially in the interview process and in the kind of let's get to know each other weeks that we had, as, man, if I could get this in front of a few people that I know, the sky's the limit.
Right.
I mean, these people are going to come up with stuff nobody's thought of before.
Right.
Things that no one's thought to do before. Ways and places of using this that are brand new. And I feel that same way for myself. There's things I want to do with this stuff that I'm like, I haven't seen this out there before.
Sweet. So what for you and anyone that potentially makes something in this category, for you, you're like, hey, there's so many people that are covering this territory. I don't really need to touch this when it comes to our products. And you probably still do projects around it in some capacity.
Right.
But I'm curious for you, like, you know what? I don't really need to go here because there's so many other avenues we want to explore.
I mean, there's two that come to mind right away.
Okay.
And I love that these two things exist and that people are crushing it and that people are doing them, and I want them to keep going.
Right.
I really, really do. I think it's amazing. I just don't think I'm going to add a ton of value in advancing that cause besides maybe helping people get started. So the first one that comes to mind is wooden resin turning. The people that do that, it's Keith Lackner, right?
People like Keith Lackner. There's a whole bunch of people that we've interacted with that,
You want me to go toe-to-toe with Keith?
No.
Like, it's not going to work.
Right.
But here's my thinking with that. How can because my whole goal here is to inspire people, to educate people, and to encourage them to keep making. That's my goal. That's my mission here. So I'm going to go hang out with Keith, and we're going to do something together, and I'm going to ask him all the questions that I would want to know or that I think other people want to know.
Right.
And I'm going to pull that information out of him.
Absolutely.
And then we post that.
Right.
Because that's the conduit that I can be for people in an expert situation like that.
Right.
So wood turning is really, really cool. I could get good at it. I could spend a lot of time doing it.
Yeah.
Is that helpful, or is it better to just go talk to somebody?
The experts like Scott Wishart, Soko Joko. They're like, that's what it is on Instagram. You can follow them there. But there's so many people that we've got to interact with. That Michael Zurcher. I've only been interacting with these cats for the last 3 months,
and they're incredible.
So many good people at this.
They're incredible.
Yeah. So it's just really. I get it. That's why I wanted to ask, is like this whole realm, there's so many great people. We could just sponge from them and then just like show the world, like, look what they're already doing. They can teach just as good as anyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, agreed. And the teaching side of this is, it's a really important piece of the pie. I'm going to put myself through kind of the 101 of as many things as I can. Right. So I'm going to teach myself wood turning and resin turning 101. Tumbler making, right? That's another one. 101. Let's figure this stuff out. I'll film that, and we'll make sure that there's accessible content for anybody that wants to get started and get going.
Right.
I honestly think it would be arrogant and naive for me to say,
I've got this.
I've got it. And don't worry, guys, I'm going to innovate wood turning in a way that you've never seen before. Right. Like, I think we got to be real about that. But I do put it on my own shoulders to go find somebody that's innovating.
Right. Totally.
And let's go talk to them.
Right.
And let's find out what they're doing.
Absolutely. There's a whole bunch of other names that come to mind now, like Heath Knuckles. There's Casey Martin. Oh gosh, there's so many names that are like the longer we go in this that we've interacted with that are really good. Zach Higgins, Mr. Alumilite. That's on YouTube. That's what they actually call him.
They call him Mr. Alumilite.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a whole bunch.
Okay, we're gonna go hang out.
Yeah, there's so many people that we could hang out with and do it. So cool. Now, let's go all the way back. For you, when did you first discover that you like to make things?
That's a really great question. It's probably interesting. I think I would answer this like two ways.
Okay.
There's probably the time that I discovered that I like to make things. And then there's probably the time that my parents discovered I like to make things.
Really?
And that's probably two separate occasions.
Okay.
And you might think, oh, I was doing it in secret. It's actually the opposite. I think my parents were more hip to the fact that I was this maker guy.
Oh, really?
Than I was at the time. I couldn't put words to it. I started. My mom has recently she started to send me photos of things that she's found. They just moved, so they're kind of unearthing things, and she's sending me things that I've made that I don't remember.
Really?
Making things like clay sheep. My last name is Shep, right? I made clay sheep that we like fired in the oven.
What?
You know? Yes. Oh, absolutely. We took like these egg cartons, like the cardboard ones, and we would cut them up, and then we would put together the tops in like geometrical ways, so it'd become like a dinosaur. And all of these things that we used to do. I did a duct tape wallet.
Oh, yeah.
I thought
I remember those.
You remember those, right?
Duct tape wallets were huge for a while.
You lay it out. So I think I don't remember a time, honestly, where I wasn't making stuff. But I don't think I woke up to the fact that, oh, this is a core part of like
me
and what I like to do. Maybe until like high school.
Really?
And even even then. Even then, it wasn't. I didn't let it become part of my identity, really. Right? I kind of pushed it away in a lot of stuff.
It's ancillary.
It was ancillary. I was the guy. I have a very big extended family, and everyone would kind of do like a birthday gift for the cousin or whatever it was. And it'd be small, but I knew what I was getting like every year. It was a sketchbook or watercolors. Like
really?
one of them's coming in hot. Like that's always what it was. I was kind of cast as the creative kid, you know what I mean, in my family, and I just kind of thought that was normal. I didn't really have any thoughts about it or anything. I didn't make it a big deal. It was just natural, and then I kind of buried that later on.
Okay, we'll come back to the burying and then the resurfacing.
Oh, goodness.
But so, what product of Alumilites currently are you the most excited to make stuff with?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Because we've done like this is like I don't know like 7th or 8th podcast now. I can't remember the number.
Yeah, you're getting up there.
But people are like, well, what products? Let's talk about some of the products too. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, we'll talk product.
We'll talk product.
I'm going to talk product. Yeah, so I think there's all the standard ones. RC3, okay, that's cool. Amazing clear. Okay, I'm excited for some ideas that I have with like VAC 50.
VAC 50
with like some of these
like the mold stuff.
Some of the mold stuff, and then also some of our products that have like filler material within them. Makes them a little more durable, makes them a little more maybe like heat resistant. So something that you might think, I can't really do that with this. Some of those products, they're a little more unique, they're a little more esoteric. We might be able to do some fun stuff. I kind of want to push the boundaries a little bit.
Sweet.
See how far we can go. So that I really like that idea, that kind of suite of products. But there's something too that I also really want to expose people to, which is the approachable products. So for me, one of the first things when I started, you came to me and you said, look, I know you're doing a lot of admin stuff. Go get something off the shelf and just play around. And I grabbed mold putty.
Right. Which is so wonderful.
Which is hilarious. This product, for an outsider, I don't consider myself an outsider now. I've been here a few weeks, and we've done a crazy amount of stuff. But for an outsider, it is the most understandable thing. I get 2 tubs that look like Play-Doh.
Right, literally, they're just 2 tubs.
They're just
two like smart water bottles.
And even smaller.
Right.
It literally looks like Play-Doh. I open it up. I grab 2 handfuls. I should weigh them, but I grab 2 handfuls. I mix them together for 60 seconds, and then I just press it on top of a part, and then I just chill for
a little bit.
5 minutes, 15
not
minutes,
long.
like 5 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I can demold, and then a half hour later I can cast.
Right.
That's insane. That means in less than an hour I can duplicate anything I want.
Right.
That's very approachable to me. And I think that is something that's really exciting. So I want to really expose people to that. The get going
it's like a this is a bad analogy, but like it's a gateway drug.
100%. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, hey,
100%.
here's a little gateway drug to making stuff.
Well, that's something that. So Adam Savage is somebody I really respect. I grew up watching MythBusters. That was my favorite show. 100%. I could lie and say I like SportsCenter. I hated SportsCenter. I absolutely hated SportsCenter. It was boring to me. It was that same chime every time, and then it was here we go. How's Kobe doing today? Whatever to me. I wanted to see stuff get blown up. I wanted to see them make stuff and problem solve. But Adam Savage, going back to that, Adam Savage talks about cardboard being kind of the gateway drug to making corrugated cardboard because you can cut it really easily. You can tape it together and it keeps its structure. When I look at mold putty in this world, I go, that's the gateway.
Nice.
That's the gateway thing.
Right.
Let's get that in parents supervising, obviously, but kids' hands. Let's get them doing stuff.
Right.
Let's get them making things. Take your favorite toy, push over it, and make one the color that you wish you had that you couldn't get before. And those are the things that when I go back in time and I think about what I was doing with egg cartons, if I had access
to mold putty.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I would have just, I probably would never have left my room. It would have been bad.
I can relate to that a little bit because me and my brother used to play with Legos, and I think we legitimately would some days spend like 6 hours straight, and then like, oh crap, we haven't eaten anything in a really long time.
That's the best
and
feeling.
We haven't peed, and the second you realize you haven't peed, you're like, I gotta go
right now. I gotta go. So I'm gonna be the host for a little bit.
Oh no.
Okay. I'm just kidding. I won't be the host for long. But that feeling that you're talking about as a kid, that state of like flow.
Oh yeah, it's so wonderful.
That is. I didn't have that feeling for a really, really long time until I got back into making things more recently, and I forgot about that feeling. I forgot how valuable that feeling is and how just absolutely life-giving it is. Right. And I was just like, other people have to do this. Right. Other people have to get into this sense of flow.
So that's a very good segue. So 2 things. We're going to talk about 2 things. One,
is this about to get a little difficult?
Well, maybe.
Okay.
One, we are sitting currently in the new shop that I don't know if you can see on video. You definitely can't hear in your ears, but the walls are taped, laying out like how everything is maybe going to be when it comes to the place that we're going to be making things.
Yeah, it's a rough idea.
Tell me about this space and what it means to you to like have a spot that you're going to be able to make a bunch of stuff and help other people make what they want to make.
Man,
that one's hard too. I know.
Yeah, that one's rough. That's really rough. This is wild to me. This is crazy. Like this is a dream. I was making stuff before this. I was making stuff in my apartment. I have a downtown Grand Rapids apartment. It's not huge, right? It's not 6 bedrooms, and I turned one of them. It's a 1-bedroom, right? And if I wanted to work on a project, I had to do it in my apartment. You know, I had to, couches go against walls, everything gets played out. I ended up buying racks and storage racks and MDF boards like this and ended up making work tables in order to get a project done in a weekend. And I was kind of hacking everything.
Right.
I was just putting it together. I would put my tools, I would knoll my tools out onto my kitchen counter, all that type of, my sewing machine goes right on the kitchen counter. And it wasn't ideal. I couldn't get as much done as I wanted to. So going from that to this in a short amount of time, I'm overwhelmed. Like I have no idea. Like
You're never gonna go home.
No.
Ever.
I like when I was taping this out, I was like, it's probably inappropriate for me to tape a bed somewhere, but that's what I want to do. I was like, just a cot. Just a cot somewhere.
And this is where the cot goes, in
Right.
this little tape section over here.
I was like, how long?
Underneath the stairs, like Harry Potter over there.
I was like, I know my family misses me, but if I miss Thanksgiving, is it like really bad? Like, is it really bad? No, honestly, it means a lot. I count myself really blessed for the opportunity. I mean, this is not something I think people who've been doing this a long time even have the opportunity to do.
No, we all feel really lucky in this position.
Yeah, humbled.
Yeah,
humbled, and we
don't take that for granted.
No,
at all.
And I'm gonna say again and again to people, you know, and not in an attempt to be like self-defeating, but I want help. Like I genuinely want help because I've not built out a shop this big before. Right, I've done some work in shops like this, and I feel comfortable, but I don't know every piece of the pie. I can't come in here acting like the biggest expert in the world and expect things to go well. I need help, and so I'm calling Mike, I'm calling Jonathan, I'm Don, I'm calling friends of ours that do stuff like this, and I'm saying, hey, what would you do? Hey, what would you do? And that's where I look at the whole community that we have and the community that's out there, and just say, I'm going to try to help others. Can somebody help me too? Like that's kind of the vibe.
Yes, for those of you that watch or listen to this podcast, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram.
Please.
At Alumilite Co. Because we actually do want to hear from you, especially as we continue to move forward. I know, like John Hopkins, I believe his name is.
Yeah.
He commented on our YouTube video that you put together about taping out the spot. So definitely talk to us. Second question.
Okay.
Why did you move away from? For a period of your life, there was a time when you weren't making as much. You kind of put that side of yourself away. I'd like to go there. We do not have to get into the nitty gritties of everything.
For sure.
But I think it's helpful for people to. Let me set it up this way.
Okay. Let me take a drink of
Everybody
water.
is creative. That's the thesis of mine. I think everyone has the capacity to make things. I think as humans, we are really good at taking different ideas and finding a way of combining them, connecting them, making something new, making something useful.
Right.
We all have that capacity, especially as children. And then somewhere along the way, whether it's our culture, whether it's life, we stop kind of exploring these things and how to figure out new things and how to play. I would say how to play. And everybody has this capability. So for you, I'm curious, like, you kind of shrunk from my perspective, and I've known you for a long time, so I can say that.
Yeah, this is it feels like you're cheating a little bit.
Yeah, I'm cheating a little bit.
But that's fine.
But maybe talk about why that happened and, like, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but then why you returned, because I think a lot of people are scared to start making again, and the reality is you can start right now again, or you can
start small.
Start very small and be like, all right, well, I'm just going to start writing a paragraph a day, or I'm going to start taking photos again, or I'm going to start I'm going to go pick up some product, and I'm actually going to just like play with some mold putty, or I'm going to I need to like find the unlock again so I could start making things again.
Right. You know, answering this one is just
sorry, you knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming. That's okay. So I'll kind of add a couple of things. I think creativity for me is a huge part of who I am, and I don't think creativity has to manifest in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to build things. You don't have to use saws to be creative.
Nope.
You don't have to dance to be creative. You don't have to write. You don't have to draw. It can be kind of anything you want.
Right.
And you mentioned this. I think you talked to Jonathan about this.
Yes, I did.
In some way, which was awesome. So I'm not going to reiterate that. But for me, my creativity was in making things, especially when I was young. I shifted to music pretty heavily. So I've been playing the drums now for, I think we're up to like 17 or 18 years.
It's a long time.
Long time. My parents were super supportive. I have 3 older brothers. We all play music, and so they just
had your own band.
It's corny,
it's
but
very cute.
Do we jam at Christmas? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, let me just
awesome.
get that out
Awesome.
on the table.
Shout out to the Shepherd Bros. Is that the name of the band?
We've not named it
Okay.
intentionally because we know we'll have to tour or like at least do like the
Right.
local cafe then.
It's not like the Jonas Brothers. Totally different.
Yeah, no for me. So I shifted a lot of that energy to music, and as I went through like high school and I went through I think the normal social pressures and all that stuff that you go through, trying to fit in, trying to be cool, I was watching all these things. I was watching all these people, and I didn't know how my creativity was going to fit into me fitting in, if that makes sense. I couldn't solve it. I couldn't figure out what to do. I was recently, I told a friend of ours, Ben, I was like, dude, honest, like real talk, my favorite TV show of all time is Mythbusters. And I was actually nervous to say that.
Say it out loud?
To say it out loud.
You're like, hey, am I going to be this? Is this cool?
Am I a dork? Am I a nerd? Am
Right.
I weird? And the truth is, dorks and nerds are cool. Like, that's the thing. But in high school, I kind of buried it. I started playing soccer, loved soccer, enjoyed it. Less time for music, less time for making stuff. I used to get these transfer papers, like this transfer paper, iron-on transfer paper from like Staples.
Oh, yeah.
I used to design stuff in Microsoft Paint, print it out on the transfer paper, buy blank T-shirts, and I would iron on and make my own T-shirts.
So fun.
And I was probably, my mom would know off the dome, but I was probably like 12, 13, and just loved doing that, but would get self-conscious about having the cool T-shirt. For me, I grew up in the era of like Abercrombie and
dude.
like all of that stuff, and so
So you had to have the Abercrombie and Fitch shirt, not something that you made
the
at home.
Gap, all this type of stuff. I
Right.
never got super into that side of things, but that was the kind of the direction that society felt like it was pushing me, and so I felt the pressure to conform and to go for that. And when I started to conform, I started to get a little bit more attention and respect, and I started to get liked by girls and all this type of stuff that I really, really cared about or thought I cared about.
Right.
And it felt good enough. So I let it go.
That's a good way of putting it.
It felt good
enough.
It felt good enough. It felt nice to get attention and respect and to feel like the cool guy at the party or whatever for about the duration of half the party. And then I'd go home and I'd be like, I didn't like anybody there. like that wasn't actually fun. I'd rather been home alone, right? I'm actually
You're a hardcore introvert.
I'm a hardcore introvert. Someone said like, "Hey, are you doing anything this weekend?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And they're like, "Do you want to hang out?" And my answer would be, "No."
No.
My answer's still no. Like I still don't want to hang out. Like I want to do my own stuff. But I kept burying the creative side of me through college. I started dating somebody. We got really, really serious. That relationship lasted a really long time. I mean, that relationship lasted 9 years. And I started to interweave my identity with what job I had. I started to interweave it with, how much money I'm making. Do I have cool friends? Am I doing cool stuff at night? Do I know about the cool restaurant in town or not? I started to kind of play that game, and I started to worry about whatever other people thought of me all the time. I mean, I picked a major in college. I was a marketing major in college, which I give myself a little bit of credit for.
Which is good.
It's like creative adjacent.
It is definitely. Yeah.
There was something inside me.
It's creative.
Yeah.
Because I'm a marketer.
It's definitely very, very creative, but it wasn't my core creativity. Correct.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Fully.
So I just kind of kept buying into bury yourself, look cool on the outside. Bury yourself, look cool on the outside. And eventually that relationship collapsed. It was a 9-year relationship that I had a bunch of myself wrapped into and instantly gone. Not a slow burn into death. And you're aware of this, but it was instantly gone. And with it, in a way, my identity.
You were like, wait a minute.
I just died. That's how it felt. I just died. The guy that would go out and do all this stuff just literally went away, and I didn't have much
You didn't
left.
have anything to really fall back on because it
No.
had been so long.
It had been a really long time, and luckily I have great friends. I have friends like you.
Thank you.
Friends like, good friends, Davis and Josh and Ben and Zach and all these people who are you know, hanging out with me and making sure that I wasn't going to go down a really, really negative path. But it was a conversation with, I can't remember exactly, but I just kind of had this urge to make some stuff. I went to counseling, big fan of counseling. Huge fan. And my counselor was just like, you know, I don't want you to come to counseling for a couple weeks.
What did she tell you to do?
She was like, you know, I want you to go do stuff. I was like, go do stuff?
What does that mean?
Exactly. That was my thought too. And I think she was trying to get myself out of my own way. She was just like, do what comes natural to you. Just let yourself.
Oh, I think I remember this.
Yeah. So just let yourself go. And I don't know what came over me, but one weekend I went to Home Depot and I bought a workbench, like a $75, one of those wooden, they just like fold out, and I put it in my apartment just to have it in my apartment, just so that I would look at it
and go like, hey,
there's a thing in here. Like
that I'm supposed to do stuff with.
Exactly. So I started to draw. I grew up drawing, right? Art. I took art lessons and all this type of stuff. I started to draw again. I started to come up with kind of product ideas started to emerge. I started to get nervous, but I would, in a very vulnerable spot, I'd let some of my core friends, I'd be like, I'm kind of thinking about this. I kind of want to make that. And the reaction was crazy to me. I felt exposed and vulnerable and all of those things because I was going, hey, world, hey, even though they're my closest friends, hey, world, here's something I'm thinking about making. Not even have made yet.
Not
just
even made
thinking
yet. Just thinking about it, yeah.
Here's me, really, is what I was saying. What do you think? Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And I was lucky enough and have great friends, and everyone just said, cool, this is amazing.
Yeah. Like,
you should do this.
Yeah, this looks great. You should definitely make that.
And I immediately was like, what was I thinking? Why haven't I been doing this since I was doing this when I was 12? Why haven't I kept going? I got to get back into doing this. A friend said, hey, you have a design for a bag, right? I said, yeah. He said, buy some Tyvek off of Amazon, get you an X-Acto knife and some tape, and mock it up. I said, okay. Purchased it from Amazon. And then it was a Saturday, from noon, I started maybe like 11 or noon, excuse me. And then it feels like, I tell people I woke up at like 8 p.m. Hadn't eaten anything, not a drink of water, nothing. I hit that state of flow that I was talking about a long time ago. And I just felt incredible. And it was the best that I'd felt in such a long time. And I walked outside just to go on a walk. And I just remember thinking to myself, oh, I got to do this. I got to keep going. And from there, I just have pursued a million different things.
Right.
Just trying everything. That was my goal. I just want to try everything.
So, one, thank you for sharing that. I know that was asking
awful.
you to be very open. Like your introverted self is like, no, he's asking me to tell
Everybody knows too much now.
But I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Two, I'll tell you the story. I think I might have told you the story before, but I wanted to tell it on here because when I first met Mike Foppo, it was like the first in person is when I came down to interview for this job. And I walked into the old Alumilite production facility in North Street in Kalamazoo, and that we are now located in Galesburg, and that's where everything ships out of. And the first thought that I walked in, he's like, yeah, we need this content creator that's going to be like in front of the camera. And I looked up at the shelves and all the products that were there. I was like, Jordan has made stuff with this kind of stuff. And he's like, yeah, and someone that's like really excited about making things. I was like, Jordan is really excited about making things. It was the very first time interviewing him. He's like, so yeah, do you know anybody like that? I was like, yep.
You're like, I got a guy.
I got a guy.
He won't stop talking about things. I got a guy.
I got a guy. Because it was like it was one of those moments where like you think things can be serendipitous, but then they're like, that's too good to be true. Like you're like, the job for me, I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. And I was like, this could be exactly what he wants to do too. And then I was like, and you get to build a team of like an editor and other people. And I was like, I have a guy for that too. Like,
it's wild. Yeah, it's crazy.
Woo! So like, it just is a very like it's serendipitous, and it felt meant to be.
Yeah.
So
no, I remember you called me and you said, hey,
forgive me, by the way. I'm like have holes because my
man.
throat hurts a little bit. So if you guys hear like weird sounds, it's because
Boo Boo's got a sore throat, man. We understand. I remember you being like, hey, can you come down? can you come down to Kalamazoo? And I was like, yeah, I'll take a day off, no big deal. And you know, I was like,
can you come down to Kalamazoo? Right. I have a plan.
At this point, I'm like, I'm leading a marketing team.
Yeah, you're leading. Yeah,
I'm like in corporate America, 100% successful.
Great job.
You know, great job.
Yeah,
great company.
But not exactly what you want to be doing.
Crushing it, but like some stupid measure of things, right? But not what I want. And I go down there, and I've kind of shared with you like the 3 kind of words that I live my kind of life by, that I hang things on, and that's create, share, and belong. I create things. I love creating things. Share the abundance, share the knowledge, share the money, share it all, and belong. People don't need to be isolated.
Build a community around
Build a community,
like
right?
Find more people like you.
That's where I felt great. And so for me, that was like, oh, if I could just get into a place in life, I don't even know if it's a job, if it's a hobby, if it's a weekend warrior thing, where I could be really doing those things. Oh man, just teaching people how to make stuff, or just making stuff, or whatever. Oh, that'd be great. And I go down to Galesburg.
I remember.
I like shake hands with Mike Foppel, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like kind of tired from the drive. I'm figuring it all out. And Mike just starts walking me around. We start talking product right away, and craft and all this type of stuff. And he's like, yeah, you know, Jordan, I just really want to help people make things. And in that moment, I just went, oh, no.
You're like, oh, no, no.
I was like, I'm quitting my job. I would by no means was like close to that decision at that moment, but something inside me just went like, it's over. Like, there was some right. shift, because for me, the idea of every day getting up and pushing forward knowledge and encouragement and inspiration and all of those things to people who, there might be somebody just like me who just got absolutely wrecked, doesn't know where they are, maybe lost touch with the creative side of themselves, and there's an opportunity for them to find it. If I can be that conduit for somebody else, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Right.
I'm going to do it every day.
Absolutely.
So, like I said, probably put a cot next to the garage door and then just a pillow.
He was pointing at the garage, for those of you that are listening.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Okay, so I have no idea how long we've been going, but I need to be somewhat conscious of the time.
For sure.
Okay, cool. We got time for a few more. But heads up, you know this. You've listened to a few podcasts. You get to ask me a question at some point, but that's going to be at the end. Just remember, you get an opportunity to do that.
Okay.
What project currently? Like, you don't have to talk about I know there are a few in your head that you're just like, whoo, I'm very pumped to do that. But
I got some ideas.
Let's give the audience like some things that are coming that we're really pumped about that we want to do. So tell me something that you're super excited about that we're going to be doing.
That's a great question. I'm trying not to say some of the big ideas out loud because I need to pass.
Yeah, we haven't. By the way, Mike, we haven't talked about any of these with you.
Yeah, I don't want to blindside them. Okay, so I'll start simple. One thing I'm really excited to do is take every single one of our products, and make a how-to video. Right. To me, that's immediately saying, let's lower the bar right down to the floor.
Right.
Doesn't matter what product you're picking up.
You'll know how to use the bar.
Yep. RC3, great. RC3 black, great. Is it one of our silicones? Like, what is it? Doesn't matter. We're going to make a video to make sure that you're going to be comfortable.
Right.
What safety equipment do I need? How long? What's the open time? You know, how long do I have to wait for the secure safety material?
Do I wear gloves?
Data sheets. Yeah. Exactly. Get that information as easily digestible as possible. So it maybe sounds kind of boring. I'm really excited about that, though.
Right.
Because that's what I wish I had about like 3 months ago. You know what I mean? Or however long ago it was when I started to do my first castings and stuff like that.
Right. And we've got like a lot of legacy content that exists, but like honestly, all the labels have changed, and there's definitely lots of great information and that still exists in those videos. But like, you know, it's been a while, so it's time for just like
Yeah.
Let's liven it up. Let's put some makeup on this sucker.
Yeah,
Like,
it's been a minute. So I think that's one thing right out the gate that I go, that's great. There's one, I don't know if you're gonna be okay with me sharing this or not.
I don't know.
It's
maybe.
not gonna be big, but it's kind of the first, I'll call it, series that I want to do. This is going back to the dork side, the nerd side.
I have no idea where he's going with this, by the way.
This is fantastic then. So I have never played, but have always wondered what it was like to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh,
right?
yes. Okay.
I'm
okay with you sharing this.
Okay, good.
Okay, yeah.
So I've never played the game. It was such a nerdy thing to do. I didn't know anybody that played.
I played.
You played.
Only like once or
I
twice.
know one person that's played now. But I just think that's really funny to me, and that is kind of crazy. Why haven't people played this game? It's such a legacy game. There has to be something really, really cool to this. And so I started just like to look into it. I was like, what is this all about? So there's die involved. There's all this stuff. There's game pieces. There's props.
There's tables.
There's a table. And then I started thinking.
Table you can do stuff with as well.
So I'm like, what are we doing, guys?
Our product, you can literally do all of that with.
Design your character. Make your own die that you want to make. What color, what finish, whatever. Make the table yourself. How many friends do you have, and how often do they play? And does everybody have the same seat at the table? Cool. Customize their seat at the table with whatever, whether that's with a custom designed wood table, epoxy finish. Like, do your characters.
You want to add a really interesting like mold of a skull that sits on the side of the chair. That's like this guy sits there always.
There's like a dungeon master, right? That's I'm still ignorant if it's not clear enough, but there's a dungeon master. That's a thing, and there's new enemies every day. So to me, I'm looking at it like, if you write a story, which is what they do. Some dungeon masters write their own tales, and you come up with a monster. Make the monster, manifest that thing in real life.
Yep.
Like make it a part of the lore.
Set it on the table and like, look, there it is.
100%. I mean, if you want to go ham with it, there's Comic-Con, there's all these crazy things. If you want to dress up while you do this, go for it. So we're gonna start small. I want to start small, but that's a project I really want to do. I think people who play those games are naturally willing to be themselves.
Right.
Are naturally willing to take those risks and are maybe naturally predisposed to making some stuff, to trying it out themselves. So I want to go to them and knock on the door and say, hey, would you like your own stuff? Like, let me help you make it.
Yeah, we can help you.
Like, you do it. Start from scratch. So that's a project idea that I'm really excited about.
Cool.
I'd love to get.
I'm very excited for that.
I'd love to get some, maybe the cast and crew in here and force everybody to sit down and play a game.
That would be
fun.
fun.
I know our camera guy Eric is
He'll play.
I think he'll play.
He'll definitely play.
He'll play.
I'm now looking at him, but you get.
Yeah.
He just said dibs on Dungeon Master.
Well, there we go.
So I think it's appropriate. I think it's okay for you to ask me the question now, because I really have actually liked what you've said. Before that, the last question I'll ask you.
Okay.
How does creativity affect all the other areas of your life? So now that you've kind of returned to this making side of you, how have you seen it affect the other areas of your life, like from being a brother to being a son to being a friend to learning more? Like, help me unpack that little piece of the puzzle, and then we'll wrap it up with your question.
Man, really good question. A hard one, honestly, kind of a hard one to answer, not because it's difficult, because I feel like there's 20,000 answers to this that I could pinpoint, but I'll pick some of them.
Okay.
When going through all the heartache and all the pain and whatever you want to say, when that big shift in my life happened, I think when I really started to dive into creativity again, my mom started to express this sentiment to me that she felt like she's got her son back, right? That the kid that she knew that she was making egg cartons and stuff with is kind of back. And that I was back to her again. And so for me, those parent relationships have changed. The honesty's off the charts. Like, I'm myself with them, and they're not worried about, infringing upon some like ecosystem I'm trying to manufacture. I'm just being myself, and it's the same kid that they loved when I was 5 years old and making like a putt-putt course out of wood in my backyard, right? Like, so that's been incredible. I can bring my true self to that relationship, and it's insane. When it comes to like being a brother or being a sibling, being creative for me comes in like kind of like a natural state of being.
Mm-hmm.
So playing with my nieces and nephews is just all day long. I'll make up games off the dome on the spot. I'm like, all right, you're going to run to that side. I'm going to run across, and we're going to throw matchbox cars, and we're going to see who can outrun the other person's matchbox, like whatever it is. So coming up with creative ideas in that way makes me take bigger risks in my personal life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to now saying, hey, this is me. Here we go. I'm not really used to it. I'm still scared to death, to be transparent. But I'm willing to put that risk out publicly.
Uh-huh.
So now I'm willing to be even riskier in my personal lives.
Awesome.
I'll go there. I'll talk about the really awkward thing in the room that we probably should talk about.
Right.
As a friend, as a a partner, as a family member, whatever it is. And because I know on the other side is a really good feeling. And I think being creative and being willing to sit with a problem for a long time has influenced that a lot. I mean, it's influenced my work clearly,
Yeah, I mean, this is what you're
doing
going to do
something
for a living
really,
now.
really different. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll go out to dinner with friends, and what we'll talk about is each other's lives, and oftentimes we end up talking about creative things.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be the internet, it could be object design, it could be pottery, it could be the business they're starting, it could be a great song. It doesn't matter. That's where my conversations with people go now.
Mm-hmm.
And my relationships, they're richer. They're just richer.
That was a fantastic answer. You're doing so good.
I'm so scared.
I know.
So tense.
The best part is, like, he's going to be in front of a camera, like, every day now for, like, the foreseeable future.
It's one of those things where I in your gut you go, oh, I got to do this.
Right.
Am I super, super comfortable? Am I the expert in that? Like, no. But I'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the vibe.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's time. You can ask me a question, and then after that, we're going to go ahead and wrap this sucker up.
Sweet.
Before you ask me the question, thank you
Of course.
for being on the podcast. I know
course.
you're kind of obligated because this is your job now.
Yeah. Didn't really have a chance to say no.
Yep.
That's okay.
But everybody has a choice to be candid or not, and I appreciate your candor and your willingness to participate in the format that is this podcast.
100%. I mean, if we're in a warehouse and it's just a couple of us right now, but I know a lot of people could listen to this, and that's terrifying. But it's worth the risk. It's worth putting yourself out there.
Uh-huh.
If one person is going to try something after this, if one person is willing to be more themselves, pick up a piece of like a tool they've never picked up before, try something they never tried before, I'll take all the embarrassment all day long. So
yeah, cool. That's awesome. Thanks, man.
Question for you now.
Okay, let's see where we're gonna go. What we're gonna do?
I don't know. I haven't listened to every one of these podcasts yet,
We'll
so I'm
see.
trying to think of how deep these cuts get.
They haven't been like too deep. They have.
Okay.
I mean, there's been a few. It was like, so what do you want to do with your life now? Like, even if you weren't working here, and I'm like, okay, that's hard. I just got this job.
Right.
But like, there's been a few that have been pretty poignant.
Okay, so I'll ask this.
Okay.
As somebody who works for you, with you, what are you worried about when it comes to building out this massive content team, this massive library of information, this massive outreach? What are you scared of in this process?
Ooh. Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I'll give you a minute to think about it.
Yeah, what am I scared of? No, I think my chest immediately went. So I think I have an answer.
Okay.
I think I'm scared that our audience will not know our true intent. I think that I'm a pretty intentional, open book, heart on the sleeve type dude, and that's kind of how we're leading this charge. That isn't kind of, it is how we're leading this charge.
Right.
So I want the audience to know our intentions are pure, and when that gets lost, that sucks. 'Cause I'm human in that sense. So like,
For sure.
I just hope that the people that do listen to this, and the people that do watch it, and the people that see where we're going, they understand that we're really just continuing the legacy that was already here when it comes to the brand, when it comes to the brands in general, even. Like the first week that I have said this like 4 or 5 times now on this podcast, but it's still true. The first week, Mike said, like he told you, he's like, I just really want to help people make what they want to make.
Right.
That's really what I want to do. Like, seeing people become who they really are, nothing excites me more. And I think that I know our stuff is just products. I know that they aren't going to save people's lives, but in some capacity, it might. In unlocking your own creativity, it can help heal and it can help move. Right. And, life is for the living. So I really want our audience to like feel that intention, because it is true and it is pure. And I am scared sometimes that maybe they won't, because of politics or perceptions or whatever.
Right.
I don't like
of
the
that
social
thing they
channel,
made,
or I made an off-color comment, or I'm wearing all black. I don't know. You know what I mean? So I just hope that the intent lands.
Right. I get it. I feel the same way too. Right. I mean, I'm gonna put myself on camera, and the goal is to get that in front of as many people as possible. Not to become famous and not to become anything else.
No, that's not our intent at all.
Not at all. In fact, I'm deeply insecure about that. Like if I'm shooting you straight, like that's terrifying to me a little bit. I think the goal of this though is to keep getting the word out there, to keep the exposure up, to keep people aware of.
To keep making. That's
to
the
keep
podcast.
Making. I can't believe I walked into it.
You just walked right into that one. That's the whole point of the podcast.
Oh, that's like a bad lead up.
That was pretty good.
If you're listening to this, just turn it off now.
We're so sorry.
Just don't keep going. I've made a huge mistake.
You were like, just to keep, to keep, and I'm sitting like,
you started to light up.
I was like,
you started
he's
to light
going
up.
There.
If he says hashtag, I'm gonna lose it. That's hilarious.
Cool.
Oh gosh.
No, you're right. And I think on that note, on that lovely awkward note of like going full circle with the name of the podcast, I do want to say thanks again.
Yeah, of course.
For being on the podcast. For those of you that are listening, we'd love to hear your feedback. If there's somebody that you're like would love to hear on this podcast, it doesn't matter where they are. We can do these remotely.
Yeah.
Let us know. Shoot me an email. My email is caton.vance@alumilite.com. Feel free to shoot me an email directly to me.
100%. I also want to know what people want to see us make.
Oh gosh,
if people are chomping at the bit, they've found something that they don't know how somebody does it, or they want to see a new product, or they want to see something come out. Man, let us know.
Yeah,
like let's go for it.
We'll
dive head in.
Yeah, we've got a giant list to tackle, but we will absolutely add more to that list.
Absolutely, for sure.
Cool. All right, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.
Peace.